the Trump administration is continuing their spiral and spin, and now they're just outright lying and gaslighting the American public because they are incompetent. They do not know, come here from Sikkim. And then they roll out the 27-year-old disaster, Caroline Leavitt. Listen to this.
Seth, and the American people should be grateful to these individuals, and especially to President Trump, for putting together such a competent and highly qualified team who are killing terrorists that the Biden administration allowed to run wild in the Middle East. And that is the
Okay, this is ridiculous. The amount of praise that these people require, that we should be grateful for their incompetence, is just a next level delusion. This administration is all centered around praising a very insecure man. So at the top, we have this wildly insecure man whom I believe is compromised by Vladimir Putin, and then all of the sycophants below. A lot of these sycophants at times have had crystal clear clarity about what a disaster and what a fascist Donald Trump is. Now, Caroline Leavitt is not one of those. I mean, she just totally drinks the Kool-Aid, but we know Pete Hegseth, we know JD Vance, we know Marco Rubio. A lot of these people in this administration at one point had clarity on how dangerous Trump is. And they taste this corruption, MAGA does, from the administration all the way down to the population. They get a little taste of corruption and they like it. And they want to consume more and more of it. And then they go out on their gaslighting tour and tell everybody, we need to be so grateful for Donald Trump. And imagine that just came out of her mouth so effortlessly that that's what they probably have to say constantly in the White House. We're so grateful for you. You're such a strong guy. You're so tan. You have such great hair. It's pathetic. All right, next up, we have Mike Waltz. And this is the man that added the journalist to the Signal text stream. And he is now trying to spin, and I think about this for a second. You have the director of the CIA, the Secretary of Defense, all of these national security advisors in this illegal text. They're not supposed to be on Signal. And the only way they're on Signal is because they're on their personal phones. Why are they on their personal phones? Because they want to erase any evidence of anything that they do. So they want to avoid the Freedom of Information Act. This administration from the jump is doing everything illegally, but now they're trying to spin it because they're so incompetent. They added a journalist, and listen to what Mike Waltz says.
Entire cabinet. But how did a Trump-hating editor of The Atlantic end up on your Signal chat?
You know, Laura, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but of all the people out there, somehow this guy who has lied about the president, who has lied to Gold Star families, lied to their attorneys, and gone to Russia hoax, gone to just all kinds of lengths to lie and smear the president of the United States. And he's the one that somehow gets on somebody's contact and then gets sucked into this group.
Yeah, Mike, exactly. How does the director of the CIA and all of these people with all this top security clearance, you're saying you got bamboozled by a journalist from The Atlantic, that's how weak the security is for the United States of America under the Trump administration? This is not the tell that you think it is. It further exposes that if your theory was correct, which we know it's not, we know that you inadvertently, accidentally, clumsily, and sloppily added this journalist because you thought it was somebody else. And you're now trying to blame him. But all it shows is how insecure the security is under the Trump administration. It shows how unsafe the American military is under the Trump administration. It is ridiculous spin. They have to go on Fox News, which is full-blown propaganda. It always has been, but it's so much worse now, which really pisses me off about Rupert Murdoch. This man, Rupert Murdoch, and his family have become multi-billionaires off of the United States of America, lying to America, letting them taste corruption, letting them taste hate, letting them taste cruelty, and they get addicted to it and they want it more and more. But back to Rupert Murdoch, he's made all of these billions of dollars, and he can't in this moment say, look, we're not down with this fascist. Report Trump exactly for what he is. They just keep going along with it. We're at a moment in history, a living moment in history, where it's not about the left versus right. It's not about liberals versus Democrats. It's about people that are for democracy and those that are fascists. And Rupert Murdoch, I don't know why I would even think that maybe he might have a moment of clarity to think, you know what, this country's been good to me. This country's been good to my kids. We're going to report on this as usual and call the Fox Entertainment hosts to start using a little bit of critical thinking, but nobody is coming to save us. Nobody. All right. Next up, we have Steve Witkoff. Okay, this guy just kills me. This guy was on the Signal chat, and this guy is the guy that fell prey to Vladimir Putin's superficial charm about we've made this portrait of Trump. We commissioned this portrait. I've been praying for Trump. This Putin is a KGB agent. The fact that this guy walks into Moscow, into the Kremlin, and hasn't been prepped as to the type of tactics that Vladimir Putin is going to use. And then he falls prey to him. And then he tells everybody on American television how great Putin is. This guy, when he was in this group chat, guess where he was? He was in the Kremlin. And listen to this ridiculous statement about Putin. It's so ridiculous that even the Russian press is giggling at this guy and thinks he's the biggest buffoon on the planet.
Of their drones were on their way when President Putin issued his order, and they were shot down by Russian forces. So I tend to believe that President Putin is operating in good faith.
It doesn't matter if we believe it ourselves. The main thing is that the empty American heads believe it. And then there's Witkoff. I'm impressed that Russia shot it down. Here's an example of an empty American head that believed it.
To believe that President
empty American heads, even in Russia, they realize how incompetent and breathtakingly ignorant and stupid the Trump administration is. They cannot believe their luck. Again, I want to remind everybody, Russia is in a position where they should have no leverage over the United States of America. None. But they do, because I believe that Trump is compromised by Vladimir Putin and has been for months. And then all of the people under Trump, J.D. Vance and oligarchs, they're using Trump as a useful idiot to overturn democracy so that they can have an oligarchy. And again, the amount of people that are piling on to this incompetent, diabolical administration is just jaw-dropping. Here we have Joe Rogan, who I think is the biggest pussy on the planet. He says, I won't be at the UFC fight. I don't go to Canada anymore. I'd rather go to Russia. And think about this. This guy, I think he has a Spotify contract, $300 million. He shouldn't be beholden to anyone, but because Trump, the guy that wears the full face of makeup, has the comb over, says he's fallen in love with Kim Jong-un, tried to give a microphone a blowjob. That's your guy. That's your big, tough guy. He says he doesn't like Canada and he likes Russia. And now you're just on board with that, just based off of that. It's so pathetic. And I think Joe Rogan is the biggest pussy on the planet. I just absolutely cannot stand this guy that whatever Trump believes, he believes. And he gets RFK on, and then he gets Elon Musk on, and they all bro out together. And to me, they all look so weak. They can never have conviction. And it is such a turnoff in a human being when they can't stand for anything. And it's a deeper turnoff when they just follow whatever dumbass Trump has to say. All right. And lastly, I want to leave you with another idiot, complete moron. This is FBI Director Kash Patel.
Single state in this country is a border state. Arkansas is no exception.
He basically says that every single state in the United States is a border state, and Arkansas is no exception. And I know that geography is something that troubles a lot of people in the Trump administration. I know that facts are the enemy of the MAGA movement, but this is just beyond the pale. And they say so many crazy things every single day that so much of it just gets pushed down. And then this all of this craziness and insanity and ignorance becomes normalized, and it becomes normalized again. And until we completely, the Democrats and any moderate, even if you've never voted, we have to align to stand up for democracy unapologetically and with conviction. Okay, guys, we'll see you all later today.